with conspiracy theories surrounding the birth of their children. And the reason that it's important...
One angle, anyone that was there says that she did not look pregnant.
However, the angle that I'm looking at...
Did Meghan Markle use a surrogate? That's been something posited literally for well over 3 years.
From the very first moment people saw those photos, something felt off. Not in a subtle, easy-to-ignore way, but in that gut-twisting way where your brain keeps whispering, wait, that's not right. And the longer you looked, the louder that whisper became. Why is the belly several shades darker than the rest of her skin? Here's the thing. When skin stretches during pregnancy, it gets lighter, not darker. But that's just the beginning. Meghan claims she gained 65 lbs with both pregnancies, yet somehow her arms stayed stick thin. Her face didn't change, and she was bouncing around in heels at 8 months like it was nothing. Now, there's a woman named Dill who's about to break her silence, and what she's saying could flip everything you thought you knew about those royal births. She was supposed to stay quiet forever, but she's done hiding. Real quick, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because what's coming is going to blow your mind. If you love uncovering what's really going on, smash that like button. Let's dive in. Let's talk about those pregnancy photos, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Meghan's out here claiming she gained 65 lbs with both pregnancies. That's not a small amount. That's the kind of weight gain that shows everywhere. And that's exactly the point. When a woman gains that much weight during pregnancy, it doesn't politely stay hidden. It spreads, it settles, it announces itself. Faces soften, arms fill out, legs change, even posture shifts. It's not something you can just tuck away like a secret.
Children's titles could be challenged. If Meghan was not legally the mother, their status changes under succession rules.
Your arms get fuller, your face rounds out, your bust changes. It's just what happens when you're growing a human being. But here's what's wild. Look at those photos from when she was supposedly 8 months along. Her arms stick thin like the same size they always were. Her face, no change. Her legs, same story. The only place that looked different was that belly, and even that had people scratching their heads. Now get this. She's wearing high heels at 8 months pregnant, bouncing around without breaking a sweat. But Meghan's in heels and not just standing in them. She's moving around like it's nothing. There's even this moment where she talks about it herself, saying all her weight was in the front, and she's thinking, how on earth am I not just tipping over? How am I not face planting? That's the thing though. If all that weight really was in the front, she wouldn't be able to wear those heels in the first place. Your tiny ankles can't brace that kind of front-loaded weight in stilettos when you're that far along. That comment alone raised eyebrows, because anyone who's actually carried a baby knows balance changes fast. Center of gravity shifts. Your body protects itself. You don't glide around in stilettos like it's a fashion shoot.
That situation, because it doesn't look real to me. There's so much that's missing from this.
It just doesn't work that way. And here's where it gets even more bizarre. She dropped down on her knees at one event. We're talking full crouch. And then popped back up without any help from Harry, who's just standing there watching. But Meghan did it effortlessly in heels, no less. Then there's the rice-picking hat moment. You know, the one where she showed up outside what people figured was a clinic wearing this hat and carrying a little pouch. The photos from around that time just don't match what you would expect to see. And listen, pregnancy shows. It shows consistently. Your body changes in predictable ways. But the way things looked in different appearances, it wasn't adding up for a lot of people watching. And then came the detail people couldn't ignore no matter how hard they tried.
Comparing her DNA directly to Archie and Lilibet. If I'm lying, she said, you'll know in minutes. No celebrity.
Several shades darker. That's completely backwards from what actually happens to pregnant bodies. Some people try to explain it away, but women who've been through pregnancy themselves are pointing this out and asking the same question. Why would the belly be browner than everywhere else? It's not supposed to work like that. The weight thing keeps coming back because it's such a specific claim. If that were true, it wouldn't just be concentrated in one spot. Your body distributes pregnancy weight naturally. It's in your face, your arms, your thighs, your bust, everywhere. That's how pregnancy works. But Meghan's showing none of that. Zero weight gain in her arms, which you can see clear as day in those sleeveless dresses she kept wearing. And honestly, it almost seemed deliberate, like she wanted people to see how thin her arms still were. Here's what really gets people though. If the weight didn't go on her arms, and it didn't go on her face, and it didn't go on her legs, and it didn't go on her bust, people kept circling back to the same question because there was no logical answer.
Pregnancy, the idea of her moving like that would have been impossible. She just couldn't have done it. So, she was pale, she was...
Then where exactly did it go? Because it had to go somewhere. That's not how bodies work. You can't gain that much weight and have it only show in one place while the rest of you stays exactly the same. Women who've actually lived through pregnancy are looking at these photos and saying what everyone's thinking. Something about this just doesn't add up. And then came the Archie reveal. The moment that should have settled everything, but somehow made it worse. 48 hours after giving birth, standing there in heels, glowing, pressed dress, perfect hair, no swelling, no exhaustion, no recovery. It didn't look human, it looked rehearsed. And the palace statements, completely contradictory. Labor just started, no wait, baby already born. Which one was it? That confusion became the crack everything else poured through. No doctors, no hospital confirmations, no witnesses, no signatures. Silence where tradition usually leaves a paper trail. Then DL entered the picture. Not a random voice, not a rumor. A woman saying calmly, clearly, she was the biological mother. Her eggs, her pregnancy, her body. She says the approach was quiet, discreet, professional. Privacy, protection, payment. Everything designed to keep things invisible. Clinics that felt like vaults. No real names. Rotating staff. No full picture. No one person holding all the pieces. And she carried those children. Every symptom, every kick, every sleepless night. Then she delivered and the warmth vanished. No gratitude, no follow-up care. Promised payments that never came. And then she watched television as someone else stood in white and took credit for her body's work. That's when she says she understood. She was never part of the story. She was a loose end. Weeks before the world heard anything, she says the baby already existed. 2 weeks old by the time the cameras rolled. And she sat there watching, powerless, erased. Then the documents started shifting. Names removed, titles added, birth certificates rewritten in ways that don't match protocol on either side of the Atlantic. And through all of it, silence, complete silence. For someone known for controlling narratives, the absence was louder than any interview. Behind the scenes, insiders whisper panic. Meetings, paperwork, contracts, fear, not planning a comeback, planning survival. And Harry, falling apart, pacing, not sleeping, repeating the same sentence over and over. I just wanted to protect them. The man who ran from secrecy ended up buried inside one. Now DL says she's ready. Records, emails, timelines, receipts. Not hints, not whispers, a full story. And when silence breaks, it doesn't crack gently. It shatters. So the question isn't whether this is uncomfortable. The question is, what happens when the truth finally stops waiting? And here's the part that makes people sit back and stare at the screen a little longer. Because once you reach this point, it stops feeling like internet chatter and starts feeling like a slow motion collapse. Dill says she didn't wake up one morning and decide to talk. This wasn't about revenge or attention. She says it came from exhaustion, from carrying a truth that nobody wanted to hear, while watching the world celebrate a version of events she says never happened the way they were told. Imagine being erased so completely that your pain doesn't even qualify as a footnote. Not a rumor, not a controversy, just nothing. That kind of silence eats at you. She says for years she convinced herself it was safer to stay quiet, that the power imbalance was too big. Who would ever believe her over royalty, over palace press offices and glossy magazine covers and perfectly timed appearances? Silence felt like survival, but silence has a cost. And over time, that cost got heavier than fear. What changed everything, according to her, was watching the narrative harden, watching history get cemented in documentaries, interviews, and carefully curated moments. Once a story gets repeated enough times, it becomes fact. And Dill says she realized if she didn't speak now, she never would. The truth wouldn't just be buried, it would be rewritten permanently. That's why she didn't come out crying or screaming. She came out prepared, calm, methodical, talking about documents, timestamps, billing records, clinic procedures, not emotion first, structure first. And that's what's unsettling people the most. This isn't someone spiraling, this is someone laying out a timeline. Meanwhile, Meghan's silence keeps stretching longer, and it's not the confident silence of someone above the noise. It's the kind of silence that feels calculated, tense, watchful. People who've worked around her say she's not unplugged. She's hyper-aware, reading everything, monitoring every leak, every mention, every shift in tone. Because once something breaks that can't be controlled, there's no press strategy big enough to contain it. And Harry? Friends say he's unraveling in a way that's hard to watch. Not explosive, not dramatic, quiet, hollow, like someone replaying decisions over and over, realizing too late that intentions don't erase consequences. He wanted privacy. He wanted protection. He wanted a clean break from the palace machine. But secrets don't disappear just because you change countries. They follow you. They wait. People close to him say the guilt reveals isn't just about what might come out, it's about the irony. He became the thing he claimed to despise, the keeper of a story that only works if nobody asks questions, the guardian of silence. And the timing couldn't be worse. Public trust already fragile, media patience thinning. Audiences no longer willing to swallow polished explanations without proof. This isn't 2019 anymore. This is a world that screenshots, archives, and cross-checks everything. Dill knows that. That's why she's not teasing forever. She's not dropping breadcrumbs endlessly. She's preparing for one moment, one clear telling, one time where the story isn't fragmented into whispers and reactions, but laid out from start to finish. Her experience, her body, her timeline. She says she's not trying to take children from anyone. That's important. This isn't about custody, it's about recognition, about acknowledging that someone else existed in this story, that something didn't happen the way the fairy tale said it did. And that's the part people struggle with the most. Not whether they like Meghan, not whether they sympathize with Harry, but the idea that something so monumental could be presented so smoothly while leaving someone else completely invisible. If DL is lying, then everything will collapse under scrutiny. Documents won't line up, stories will crack. If she's telling the truth, even partially, then the fallout won't just be personal, it'll be institutional. Because once one carefully protected narrative falls apart, people start looking sideways at others. That's why this moment feels different, heavier, less like gossip, more like a reckoning waiting to happen. Silence can hold things together for a while, but it's fragile. It relies on everyone agreeing not to ask certain questions. And once one person decides they're done protecting a story that erased them, the silence doesn't whisper when it breaks. It shatters. Now the world is waiting, not for drama, for clarity, for answers, for someone, anyone, to say something real. Because once the truth steps into the light, it doesn't care who was supposed to stay quiet, or who was supposed to stay quiet, or who was supposed to stay quiet, or who...